Good morning. It's a lovely Wednesday morning, 34 degrees here in sunny California. We got a lot to cover today, so I'm just going to jump in. Intent is an element of most crimes. If you're suggesting to me that there may be non-intent showing reasons for having exactly the same facts, then I would agree with you. For example, can you have innocent reasons for walking into a store with a ski mask and a gun? Yes, absolutely you can. But can there also be nefarious reasons? Yes. Will the prosecution have to prove that you were walking in with the intent to commit armed robbery? Yes. If you're stuck on saying that, but you haven't shown intent, well, let's roll back to my video last night that sparked this little debate. It was fishing. He has poles out. He was at the river or lake or whatever the hell it was at the bank, and he told the cop that he was going to fish. We have intent proven, kids. We have intent proven. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the intent element if the dumb bastard has admitted that it was intent to fish that day. So that's number one roundup. Wow. Wound up. Whatever. Number one is done. Let's see. Number two is going to be living rent-free. My channel is dedicated to finding and exposing the liars, the hypocrisy, and the scammers in this community. The people who are giving you bad legal advice. That's the intent of my channel. If you're going to suggest to me that these people are living rent-free in my head, well, okay, I guess the police are living rent-free in theirs. It's the intent of my channel. It's my purpose. It's what you guys tune into me for, hopefully. So, yeah. When they, however, talk about me, the purpose of their channels isn't to talk about some first-year family law attorney out of California who doesn't know anything and who never did nothing and who can only lose cases and all these other fun accusations that they make about me. That's not the intent of their channel. I am living rent-free in their heads because I am pulling them off their target paths. They're not criticizing the police when they're criticizing me. They're not scamming people out of their money when they're criticizing me. I'm the fly in their ointment. They are my ointment. And yes, I'm living rent-free in their heads, as is evidenced last night. You had Tucson Police Suck was live streaming. Freeman was with him. Interesting story was told after Freeman heard I was on there. He tried to convince Tucson to block me. Took, I think they call him. Because James really doesn't like me. And that's fine. He's allowed to. And then James told a story that said a lot about James. James said that Patrick was in the car with James, and Patrick started watching one of my videos. And James told him, either you turn it off or I'm going to take your phone and throw it out of the car. That's living rent-free, kids. And that also shows you that James is just a little bit more alpha, or maybe he's a lot more alpha because Patty is pretty damn beta. He's more alpha than Patty. Little patty cakes, little news now patty. But he's a lot less alpha than Took. He might be able to intimidate tiny little Patty, little baby face Patty. But big old Took, nope. I tuned in and out of that stream a couple times. Apparently there's somebody in there impersonating me. They have my dog's picture as their avatar, but whatever. free country. Kind of lame to do that, but I guess. Anyway, I tuned in and out of their little stream, and they're talking about me for, I don't know, long time. Long time. That's a long time of rent-free. Not two cast moderators, apparently, and everybody was getting blocked. Good on you guys. Free speech, much wow. And authoritarian James Freeman, he laid the law down. He said, it's my personal property. I'm going to control what happens in my personal property. At least when it's News Now Patty and not Took, huh? Took's a little too big for you to lay down the law with. Speaking of beta, third and final subject is going to be stream. Brian King stream. Watched about 10 minutes of it. It was probably the most disappointing 10 minutes of my life. You had a bunch of retards interviewing someone who was surprisingly noodly. He folded like a napkin. Some ex-cop who is apparently now a professor, who just very I thought the guy'd have some spine, but I guess I was wrong. Anyway, back to the speaking of beta, Steve, PNP News. Very beta man. Very beta man. He brought up, first off, he started off saying that litigation begins on the street with the camera. I don't think so, but you do you, Steve. Anyway, he was saying his hypothetical was that the cop actually tells the activist, auditor, cop watcher, whatever, that the cop doesn't have reasonable, and Steve likes to say reasonable articulable suspicion, because Steve is mostly stupid. But any reasonable suspicion. The cop says, I don't have reasonable suspicion that you're committing a crime. What crime have I committed? You haven't committed any crime. Oh, there's no reasonable suspicion. Well, instead of asking a apparently has-been cop that, how about you ask a lawyer that? Reasonable suspicion, no crime, has to have been committed, you dummies. Was committing, or committed, is committing, or is about to be committed. Crime is afoot, about to be committed. Let's go back and look at Terry v. Ohio. You guys don't seem to want to understand that case. What crime did Officer McFadden suspect they would be committing? He suspected they would be committing armed robbery. Had they taken any steps towards armed robbery? None that were obvious. They were walking up to a window and walking back and talking. Walking up to a window, walking back, talking. Walked a little ways, met up with a third man. Talked. Nothing illegal. What crime could Officer McFadden say had been committed or was being committed? Nothing. That's probable cause. Probable cause, you have to say that I believe a crime is being committed or has been committed. Reasonable suspicion allows for about to be committed. Officer McFadden thought they were going to do an armed robbery. Going to do an armed robbery. Not did an armed robbery, going to do an armed robbery. Because he thought they were going to do an armed robbery, he thought they would be armed. That's the armed part of armed robbery. So, oh, there's a skunk up there. We're crossing. Oh, skunk. Run in the backyard, skunk. Oh, son of a bitch, skunk. But he thought an armed robbery was going to be committed. Therefore, he thought they were likely to be armed. He searched them, and lo and behold, they were armed. And they were then he had probable cause for a weapons violation, for carrying a concealed weapon. That's how it works. The crime doesn't have to be committed. The officer doesn't have to tell you what crime he thinks what crime he reasonably suspects you've committed. Now, probable cause, he has to be able to say something. He has to be able to articulate in court a crime that he thought fit. Maybe the prosecutor doesn't charge on that particular crime, but he has to be able to show he had probable cause to arrest for a crime. A reasonable suspicion he could have. All he needs is objective facts that would lead a reasonable person or reasonable officer to come to the conclusion that crime was afoot. That's it. And he has to be able to articulate those facts in court at a later date. So I hope that clears that up. If an officer says, "Hey, I don't think you've committed any crime," what he means is yet. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have reasonable suspicion that a crime is about to be committed. Anyway, thank you for watching. The dogs have done their best to wrap me up, so I need to stop recording anyway to untangle myself. But you guys have a great day.